Legends is all of the canon from before the Disney times. In this series, we go back to see what Legends was all about. The term Kyber first showed up in the second and third drafts of the original Star Wars script. In the second draft, there was only one Kyber crystal, and it was a MacGuffin carried by Luke to drive the story. It could amplify the Force within somebody 100-fold. In the third draft, there were a handful of crystals, all controlled by the Sith. Ben Kenobi stole one from the Death Star, gave it to Luke, and Luke used it to aim his shot during the trench run. But this idea was eventually scrapped, because George wanted the Force to come from within somebody, not from an external source.
Cargo shuttle is W0608. You are cleared for entry.
An artifact called the Kyber crystal would reappear in 1978 in the first expanded universe book, Splinter of the Mind's Eye. The titular Splinter was a shard of the Kyber crystal, a massive, ancient, and powerful gemstone, which had incredible healing powers. It even had the power to bring Leia back from the precipice of death. Even a shard of this crystal could be used to exponentially enhance someone's power with the Force. The Kyber crystal was held on a planet called Mimban, in a temple devoted to a god of healing, Pomojima. Fun fact, in the Rogue One concept art book, the Temple of Kyber was going to be called the Temple of Pomojima, even referencing the Kyber crystal with the same spelling as Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Jeddah City was going to be named Mimban instead, and it describes this temple as being the seat of an ancient Jedi capital. I for one would have welcomed the return of our Cthulhu, healing Jedi Lord Pomojima. So could the Kyber crystal be used as a lightsaber crystal? Well, yeah. In fact, in the book Young Jedi Knights, Lightsabers, Luke Skywalker told his Padawans that one of the most powerful and sought-after gems are rare Kyber crystals. This gem actually made a cameo in Knights of the Old Republic 2, and you could put it in your lightsaber. And he mentions that a lightsaber's design is so flexible that practically any kind of crystal can be used. So you could even use a mood gem or something. Then maybe the color would change depending on the person's mood. Eventually, people just started referencing any focusing crystal a Kyber crystal, as a colloquial term, referencing this powerful artifact from the past. Fun fact, the saber dart by Jango Fett in episode 2 was going to be called a Kyber dart for whatever reason.
What you got here is a Camino
Kyber
dart.
So what else did people use as Kyber crystals? Well, there are dozens of types of crystals and gems and rocks that Jedi and Sith and other Force users tried out, but only a few types produced a strong cutting lightsaber blade, and some even gave special properties. Some were really powerful and could possibly overload another lightsaber, but they were really unstable, help the wielder swing their saber faster, give better control especially when throwing a lightsaber. Some were better for deflecting blaster bolts back at enemies. You could narrow or widen the blade, control the opacity or the brightness, give them additional pulsing, shocking, burning, or sonic damage effects. Some could convert the blade's energy to stunning enemies instead of cutting them. Ow! And some crystals were only usable by the light or dark side of the Force. For a single lightsaber blade, up to 3 crystals could be used, and at least 2 were needed for an underwater lightsaber configuration. Nearly any color could be achieved with the right Kyber crystals. Even the inner color could be changed with a specific configuration. Crystals' colors and the blades they produced didn't inherently mean anything for the most part, but some groups, like the Jedi, historically used colors to indicate different proficiencies. Blue was for Guardians, who were more physical warriors. Green was for Consulars, who were more the cerebral type of Jedi. Yellow was for the ones who were balanced between the mental and physical aspects of the Force. And orange, purple, and white were also used by the Jedi until the discovery of Ilum, which made most Jedi default to the green or blue crystals. As for red crystals, there were very rare natural ones but were usually synthetic, and black crystals were exceedingly rare but did exist. The Darksaber had one inside of it, and Galen Merrick, Starkiller, found one to use during The Force Unleashed. Fun fact, part of the reason Luke's Return of the Jedi lightsaber was green was because the original blue that they had planned didn't stand out well against Tatooine's blue sky. You can see this blue lightsaber in early advertisements and trailers for the movie. So where did people go to look for Kyber crystals?
Dantooine. They're on Dantooine.
There, you see, Lord Vader, she can be reasonable.
There were a few noteworthy locations to harvest gems that were optimal for lightsabers. The Adega system was inhabited by ancient Jedi on planets like Ossus. This system was the first major source of crystals favoring lightsaber construction. Adegan crystals produced strong, quick blades and had natural force-enhancing properties, deepening the connection between the user and their Jedi weapon. Ilum was later discovered by the Jedi Order in 22,800 BBY, when a Jedi Master felt a pull in the Force while traveling through hyperspace. Once the Jedi Order investigated this planet and uncovered a motherlode of crystals, and realized that the planet would produce visions to Force-sensitive individuals, they decided to hide the existence of Ilum from the Republic. So only Jedi Masters were able to find their way back to Ilum, and they would often bring their Padawans there to invoke a vision quest and to obtain their first Kyber crystal as a rite of passage. Ilum crystals were similar to Adegan ones and housed far more than Adega. They were actually so similar to Adegan crystals that people started using these terms synonymously. Ilum also had weaker crystal variants that were used with training sabers. And even though Ilum had more crystals than any other location in the galaxy, the majority of them were blue or green, which drastically limited the color range of Jedi lightsabers from that point on. But otherwise, they were perfect for lightsaber construction. Fun fact, Anakin Skywalker unconsciously built his first lightsaber on Ilum during a vision quest where he dueled the late Darth Maul. A crystal cave was also found on Dantooine around 4000 BBY, which held crystals similar to Adegan ones, in blue, green, yellow, and orange colors. There was even a phenomenon of red crystals appearing in unhatched Kinrath eggs.
Echoes. I feel echoes of the Force here.
This cave is Force sensitive. I've read of places such as this.
The crystals here are infused with the Force. Some could be harvested and used for lightsabers. They collect the excess energy that radiates from those attuned to the Force. Even mundane actions of the basest creatures can create detectable ripples in the Force. A Minok beating its wings on the plains could cause a sandstorm in the desert. And figuratively speaking, Jedi have much bigger wings.
Then you had synthetic crystals, home or lab-grown ones. Sometimes they took a long time to build an effective gem. Luke Skywalker built his synthetic crystal, which took about a month at Old Ben's house. Synthetic crystals were favored by those with no access to natural crystals, but also by dark side users who could fill synthetic crystals with dark side energy, quickly and easily enhancing the offensive properties of the gem. This corruption gave synthetic crystals their iconic red color, but they've been known to turn orange or magenta as well. Fun fact, the first use of a crystal for a saber weapon was inside the ancient Force Saber, which used a black synthetic crystal which could only be attuned or used by the dark side of the Force. So by themselves, crystals wouldn't power a lightsaber. First, the crystal had to be attuned to the Force by the user, which created a deeper bond between the user and the weapon.
The lightsaber is a Jedi's only true ally. But how do they work? Yes, you have brought me crystals, but they're all useless unless you give them life.
The lightsaber was an extension of the wielder, a manifestation of that user's connection to the Force. Anyone could wield another person's lightsaber, but even if that person was incredibly skilled in lightsaber combat, only the one who attuned the crystal inside of it would be able to wield the weapon to its full potential. You could think of it like a custom car or a graphics card for a computer. If you don't have the right driver, you're gonna have a bad time.
The crystal's bond with you is such that the stronger you become in the Force, the more powerful your crystal will grow. The crystal is in tune with you. It will use whatever water that pours through you, be it dark or light. The crystal has bonded to you. Another Jedi would have little use for it.
So what other uses did Kyber crystals have? Well, they were used in advanced cloaking technology. In Jedi Outcast, there were crystals that were mined from Artus Prime that were brought to the Valley of the Jedi to infuse it with additional force powers. These crystals were then installed in experimental Imperial Stormtrooper armor, dubbed Shadow Troopers. The crystal gave the armor the ability to use rudimentary force powers, and even the ability to cloak.
Does this mean we have a new Emperor on our hands?
It may be worse than that. Remember those experiments on Kejim with the Artusian crystals? With the Valley of the Jedi's power coursing through those crystals, Dasan has succeeded in infusing his troops with the power of the Force. We have no idea how many troops Dasan managed to empower before we got there. It could be dozens, but it could be thousands.
And all of them will have Force powers?
Yes, but we've got an advantage due to our training and discipline.
And using Kyber crystals to power the Death Star seems like a new canon idea. But there is a small reference to this in the 2012 Essential Guide to Warfare, saying that those 8 little beams are actually coming from amplification crystals. So technically those can probably be used for lightsabers as well. Actually, using a crystal from the Death Star would be the most baller thing you could do. Although I do want to say, I like it better if the Death Star is just a technological terror, not something that uses a lightsaber crystal. That's kind of lame. There were actually plans to solidify this concept in unreleased Clone Wars episodes. There's this 4-episode arc where Anakin and Obi-Wan are hunting down somebody that killed a Jedi on Utapau, and they locate this giant Kyber crystal that's apparently being sold to General Grievous.
Oh, I assure you, there's no problem. We'll pay twice what Grievous is offering. Huh?
Show me the money!
The crystal isn't just refracting energy, it's intensifying the charge!
What happens if it gets hit by something bigger than a blaster?
When they realize it can be used for something like a super weapon, they destroy it.
As I said, if we can't have the crystal, no one can.
The crystal was clearly going to be part of the Death Star's design. And although these Clone Wars episodes were never finished, the concept of Kyber powering the Death Star would live on in the new Disney canon.
Out of the stories of old, this crystal comes. Long ago, in forgotten times, when the Sith and Jedi fought for control of the galaxy. Weapons there were of unimaginable power. Always at their heart, a Kyber crystal was, just like the one you described.
You're speaking of children's stories, fairy tales.
In legends, we often find great truths, Skywalker.
So there you have it. What a wonderful galaxy of Kyber crystals we have here. Thank you to my patrons, my fellow smugglers, who voted on the topic of this video, and had special access to behind-the-scenes photo shoots. If you like the video, consider subscribing for more, sharing it, liking it, and I'll see y'all next time.
The legend will never die.